I want to let you know about this thing that I was thinking, this Billy Joel thing, because I get it. Not everybody like knows Billy Joel. I mean, people do, but I mean,
Yeah.
but even young people do because the clips that even my 10-year-old listens to are like Piano Man or
Right.
something. They have clips of everything. She's listening to Benny Goodman. Like she doesn't know
Wow.
it's Benny Goodman, but it's like that's
Where's
what
she listening? Where? How?
it's TikToks. It's just
Ah.
samples. It's stuff that
Yeah.
they speed it up. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the thing that occurred to me is that with all the different styles that he has, you as a director and photographer also have dexterity with so many styles, right?
Uh-huh.
And I thought of you as like the piano man of commercial film
Yeah.
and still production. Martians landed,
Yes.
wearing Prada suits,
Yes.
drinking Henry Seltzer,
Yes.
chewing juicy fruit.
Yes, and?
Your branding here,
Yes, brand.
your message here,
Yes, and?
a verse about
Yes.
your product here.
Yes.
I'm Hirsch Redford.
Yes, and?
I'm a message therapist.
Yes.
And I have a podcast.
Yes, brand.
That's right, that's it.
Yes.
We'll help you fix the world
Yes.
or your bottom line.
All right.
Your bottom line.
Get it. I get it. Welcome to the Yes Brand Podcast. Yes.
We're sitting here talking, we're well into our conversation with Stewart Cohen. Stewart is a film director, a photographer. He has worked with through SC Pictures, which is his production company. He's worked with American Airlines, AT&T, Coca-Cola, Four Seasons, Frito-Lay. You get the idea, but also with local brands, with these small business brands that not everybody knows, but they're known in their territory. And I'll read this little paragraph here that I like.
You're gonna embarrass me?
Yeah, I'm going to embarrass you a little bit. Scanning through Cohen's portfolio of commercials and stills, one is as likely to see heartfelt testimonials as game day humor, real people as celebs, with campaigns spanning fashion, kids, sports, wildly diverse storytelling, and portraiture. He's gone swimming with sharks in Turtle Bay and come up for air to stage a tongue-in-cheek musical comedy starring the townspeople of Mansfield, Texas, who sing about being too busy for tourism. Which I don't know if those were real townspeople. Were they?
Yeah. Yeah. Did you watch it?
Yes, of
Kind
course.
of great. It's kind of great.
Yeah. This is what I'm talking about with this diversity thing of like styles. You have these, it feels like the Music Man or some kind of musical, and they're just singing about being like loving where they live and being super busy. And then you see that they're kind of closed to tourists. Tell us a little bit about that project.
Well, I will. Well, I'm going to say one thing in advance there, Hirsch. So,
Yeah.
as diverse as all that work sounds, there is one unifying theme in it. It is all there. It's all about people, and it's all
Oh,
about humanity, and it's all about getting people to emote and perform. And that's kind of what I love to do. So it's weird because I sometimes think about that as well as like, you're across so many different genres, but in essence, it's about authentic lifestyle, even if it's a high fashion thing, it's still about the people and bringing the emotion to it.
yeah. Yeah.
So
And
Mansfield, I'll tell you about this buddy of mine that I've known sends me these scripts and I read them. And I said, no way. Like, there's no way you sold those. And he's like, dude, I said, there's no way you're gonna sell them. And he said, no, I already sold them. We got the whole go ahead to shoot it. I'm like, come on. So the whole concept, for those of you out there, basically it's for the town of Mansfield, Texas. And it's supposed to be their visitors and convention bureau, but the townspeople are saying, no, we don't want you to come here. We're too busy.
yeah.
And so we hired, we did 3 or 4 different spots. And there's some improv actors that we hired to do them. So we broke down the idea and we just let him go. We just let him riff. We had 3 cameras rolling and we talked about different things about, well, how do we keep people out of Mansfield? Do we build a ring road? Do we maybe make a lagoon with sharks around Mansfield? I mean, they were just going off on their own and it was hilarious. We filmed it with 3 cameras. We kind of did it real time. And of course, then we edited it down. I think the spot that you're referring to, it was a song like The Music
Yeah.
Man. And we choreographed it and we had them all singing about, our kids are too smart and our schools are too good and hospitals are too wonderful. So don't come here. Do you want to know the epilogue to the whole thing?
Yes. Yeah.
Spots were great. We loved the edits. Everyone thought they were fantastic. The team that had hired this agency loved them. When they showed them to the city council, it was just crickets in the room. And, the school attendant said, no, we need people to come here. It was
Yeah.
like they didn't get it. They just didn't get it. And this creative team, who I will give them credit for really sticking with it, but there was no way they were going to convince some people, and it just died on the vine.
Oh man, what a terrible ending
Yeah,
for a great story. But in the sense that we get that, like, because when I was watching it, I was thinking, I thought the same thing you thought when you saw the boards. Like, how did they sell that? How did
yeah,
they even sell that? But
right.
so cool that they got on board with it. Well, at least it's cool that up to the point of the city council, they got on board with it.
Yeah,
Obviously, they've never seen like Blazing Saddles or
right,
anything like they don't
right.
know
Because
satire.
it was tongue in cheek and it was really well done, and I think it would have received a lot of attention. And the irony is,
Oh, it would definitely would have.
yeah, the irony is, like, just a couple months after that, some outfit announced some huge new production facilities being built in Mansfield. So it's going to become kind of like a film hub, and they really would have appreciated it then, looking back. But
Yeah.
c'est la
Yeah.
vie.
But that brings us to an interesting thing as we're talking about Texas. You're based in Dallas. Anyone listening to your accent or your voice when you speak might think that you were perhaps born in an elevator in Montreal and then moved to Chicago and Los Angeles and then eventually Dallas, settled in Dallas. But tell us the real story.
That is the real story. So people in Canada think I sound like a Texan, and people here think I say a and house and about in a really strange way. No, but I was raised in Montreal and great childhood there. Ended up moving to the States to go to school at University of Texas in Austin. And having grown up with Canadian winters, of course, you visit Austin, Texas in February and it's 80 degrees and everyone's
Yeah.
wearing shorts and you're like, okay, that's all it took. And so did undergrad here, worked like as a photo assistant for some people down in Houston. Not to go through the whole story, but I basically
Yeah.
paid a lot of dues as a photo assistant, enjoyed every minute of it. And my last stint as a still photo assistant was with Helmut Newton, who, of course, most people in the industry at least know, who was a really well-known German photographer who spent half the year in Monte Carlo and half the year in Los Angeles. And out of all the guys that I had worked with leading up to that, all of whom were very successful current day commercial photographers. And at that time, the norm in the industry, it was okay to have a giant ego and not necessarily be the nicest person. And that's kind of just what you thought photographers were. And then I met Helmut Newton, who at the time when I worked with him, he was 65, but he was charming, delightful to be around. His wife was always with him, June. They traveled together. They had been married like just one marriage, and everybody loved him. And he was just charming. And it's like I learned so much during that period about being a nice person and that you don't need to put on to be self-important. It's nearly better if you're not self-important, if you're just the natural you and you could just, interact with people on a human level. And it did wonders. And if you look at, of course, Helmut Newton's work, most people say there's no way, because I
Yeah.
mean, it's a little racy here and there, but it all came from his head and where he grew up. He grew up like in pre-war Berlin.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I did my stint as a photo assistant, started my own gig, and then I had the opportunity to go back and study film at USC. So I did that. And yeah, after that, just kind of hit the ground on my own. I moved back to Texas and started my own studio, and I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah. I mean, that's fascinating. You're the second person I've talked to today. It's interesting. We probably will roll these interviews out. As you know, the season will be like a series.
Right.
So we may flow from one to the other. And today is a good example. My previous interview was with a commercial composer named Greg Keane. Greg's based in LA. He has a company called Peligro Music. So he also has that dexterity with styles. And if you're going to be doing commercial music, it really helps to be fluent in different styles. And I told him about you because it segued into this notion of what kind of personality do you bring to a business like this? When we were coming up, when I was coming up in the early 90s, I guess, it was the tail end or the mid tail of the director as God era, you
Right.
know,
Which is
the
what the
star
one I referred
fucking
to.
era,
Yeah. Yeah.
where you could be an asshole. And that was almost like de rigueur. It was like that was the thing of the day. And if you had a mentor or somebody who was really kind and really warm, it was weird. You wondered what was up. Like, what's going on with that person? They're not acting like a
Right.
tyrant. But now I think the word of the day has to be getting along with people and being kind and I mean, I don't know how people will work otherwise in a tough, competitive, tight economy. So you learn from Helmut to be both really, really great at what you do and really, really liked by people and respected and earn your respect that way. And then you did have a mountain biking trip to Siberia that was eventful for you.
It was indeed. I was an avid mountain biker, and I was single, and I thought, okay, I don't know why I thought this, but it's like if I ever get married, the chances of like doing I didn't know what happens after you get married. So
In most cases, you go to Siberia.
I was looking for the most extreme place I could go to go mountain biking. And I found this trip in Siberia, in around Lake Baikal. So you fly into Irkutsk, and it was kind of around Lake Baikal. And somewhere else, unbeknownst to me, a couple of women had just finished law school, and one of them didn't have a job, and one of them had a job. They were supposed to go skiing in South America as their graduation trip, and one of them bailed. The other one, being my now wife, said, okay, well, if you're going to bail, I don't want to go skiing alone. So she looked for one of these bike trips, like chateau to chateau in France, and they were all sold out because it was late in the season. Villa to villa in Italy, they were all sold out. And she finds this little thing on the wall at REI that said mountain bike Siberia. So she signed up, and in the end, only 6 people went on this trip. I don't think REI did it for very long because it wasn't very successful. And it was in the whole Gorbachev years. So there were 6 people riding and then 6 Russian support people, like a bike mechanic, a
Yeah,
cook,
yeah.
but people that were really highly educated. And another irony is, out of the 6 people on the trip, 2 couples got married. The,
Oh
the,
man.
the other couple lives in the UK. But anyway, so we met on that trip, and she was living in Denver at the time. And after the trip, we all went our separate ways, and ski season was coming. So I had her phone number. So I started kind of going up to Denver and skiing, and I mean, so anyway, and the rest is kind of history. We have a 26 and a 24-year-old. So we've been married
Yeah,
a long time. Yeah.
that's great. I do like the idea that you found your wife in Siberia instead of going to Siberia after getting married
Yeah,
or having it feel like Siberia. You had already been to
exactly.
Siberia, was a new chapter for
Indeed.
you.
Indeed.
Now, this leads us to the travel idea. How did travel become? Because you're still traveling quite a bit for work, you traveled for family trips and things. You're traveling a lot. You love
Right.
traveling.
Yeah.
Where did that start?
I don't know. Like when I decided I wanted to be in this world, I did want to travel a lot. I wanted to see things, because I grew up looking at pictures in National Geographic and exotic locales. So I wanted to travel. I wanted to meet people. I just wanted to see the world and be out there, and did not travel a ton as a kid. And my first photo assistant job, you know, our first job was to the Caribbean for 3 weeks. And so it was in my blood from day one. And it's just been the way I do it. I mean, we know everyone who works with me, we learn knows how to travel well. I mean, we could get 20 cases ready to go on a job like in 20 minutes, and we're cool with it. And I love it. Very comfortable on planes, comfortable in hotels, you know, comfortable working with people of different walks of life. And I really enjoy that. I think I really embrace it. I embrace the variety and the change. And I think because of that, I mean, my kids are really avid travelers and very comfortable travelers. And yeah, so it's just been kind of our way of life.
Do you like to rough it? Do you like to go really down and dirty with the travel? Not when you're shooting, but I mean, but do you?
And I don't, I think those days are gone. There was a time, there was a time. There's a lot of really nice places in the world. And
Yeah.
I think we deserve to see them all. No, look, I'm not a prima donna if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
But yeah, but no, we stay reasonably, you know, we travel well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there places that you haven't been yet that you've got on your list?
Not really. We've shot jobs on all 7 continents. I've traveled, of course, on all 7 continents. There's no place really like I that I have a burning hole to go see. This we're leaving tomorrow. My daughter's on the U.S. national team. She's a rower, and they're racing in Europe. So we're going to go to Italy to watch her, and then go hiking in the Dolomites, which I've never been to the Dolomites. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
That sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah, that'd
I
be good.
had, you know, sometimes a guest says something and then you think of a joke, and by the time you say it, it's too late. But
Yeah,
I was going to say, I should have cut you off. I would have said to you, there are some places in South America where you're going to find a burning hole if you eat or drink the wrong thing. But
that's
that would have really hit, landed right on the
yeah.
thing. But whatever, it was funny enough that I had to,
And
that I
actually,
had to.
those places, like I will say, like the Amazon, I don't need these like worms
Yeah.
that crawl into your brain and stuff. Maybe I'm getting too old for that. I don't know.
Well, I always have had that logical gene that tells you you don't need to test the boundaries of, like I don't need to bungee jump to feel alive,
Right, I'm with
you
you.
know?
Yeah,
And that was just my thing. What I don't shy away from necessarily are things that are adventurous and require some level of adventure in order to do it, to get there.
sure, sure.
The
Yeah,
mountain, the thing like that. But just to do it, just to defy either gravity or death is like, you know, what's the point?
oh yeah.
Um,
It's
now,
funny. I went to Mountain Film a couple weekends ago, a film festival in Telluride, and there are all these extreme sport films, documentary style. And it's like these French guys that climb the Himalayas to get to the top of the mountain to just put on like a base jumping suit and jump off the mountain. And it's like, I don't need that.
yeah. So with all the traveling, you started when you were shooting, when you were first out there shooting stuff and you're going all these places, what was your approach to shooting film, shooting stills that did you shoot for pleasure? Did you shoot with commerce in mind in some way or?
Well, yeah. I mean, always, the one thing I learned early on is that imagery and intellectual property can be licensed. So
Mm,
I've always taken pictures to try to license them. And early in my career, I did pretty well, you know, selling, licensing stock photography. And so I'm always shooting. But I always shoot just because I love to shoot. I mean, I always have a camera. I've been on jobs where the client says, you know, we hired you because you're the guy that we know that just always has a camera with him. And it's like sometimes you find stuff that's off script. I mean, actually, a lot of times we do. And you know, we still shoot it. And yeah, so I just love shooting. And actually, early in my career, this was in the time of annual reports, corporate annual reports, where they spent a lot of money. So we would go around the world like multiple times a year for different companies shooting these annual reports. And I learned, I didn't realize it back then, but I didn't go to business school or anything. But I learned
yeah.
so much about business because of that, because you would shoot everything from their C-suite people somewhere in the United States, usually, And then you'd go to all their manufacturing plants or their gold mines or their fab centers, in different places around the world. And I started to understand business that way. And I think it was like business school. It was a good education, and it's something I just took in because of osmosis. And because of that, I also became a big investor just because of that, because you start to understand how these things work. And yeah, so those were the early days. And of course, then annual reports went away and it just became 10Ks once the, internet and everything. And we started doing more advertising stuff, and it's already been a long time ago, but
Yeah.
so a little flashier, big production work, which I really love. I love a big show. More
Yeah.
people, the merrier, the more people, the merrier. Yeah.
Are there still projects that are huge in scope now that there is so much that can be done with AI, visual effects, and so forth?
No, there are still projects. There definitely, and we just came off a really good one. Lots of people, lots of fun. And yeah, I mean, granted, it's in everybody's mind right now, and everyone's talking about it, and it's doing some amazing things. But I was really cognizant when I was looking at the edit from this last project. Most of the selects, most of the visuals that we ended up with were not what had been scripted going into it. So, and if you put that in the context of AI, so if someone was to create some AI, whether it's stills or video clips from the original concepts, yes, that's what you would have had. But what we had being there is we started with the concept and it kind of grew from there. And I found it really ironic, the fact that the thing that we all ended up with at the end that everybody loved was none of the scripted content.
Yeah.
So I do think there will always be a place for the authenticity. I think a lot of the low end stuff will go the way of AI, and because it's going to get really, really sophisticated. I don't know how the next generation's going to take it. Like I was talking to somebody last night who said they have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, and her kids could identify something that's AI and they just kind of brush it aside. So
Mm.
I don't know if there'll be something like, yeah, that's just AI, but and people will gravitate toward the authentic. But look, it's a tool. We're going to use it wherever it makes sense to use, and let's hope it just makes our work better.
That's what I hope, is that it raises the bar, is that, same thing with writing. You're starting at a certain level. Obviously, you can achieve a level of proficiency even as a student, in high school or college. You can be a better writer using AI, then start there.
Yeah,
Now the bar should be higher and we should have more literate people. That would be better. Spend more time reading and you
right.
won't have to do some of the basic stuff,
Yeah, I
you
agree. I
know?
totally agree.
Yeah. So, in terms of personality, meeting people, now we're in a phase. Fortunately, we got through COVID, we got through all of that. That was challenging. What do you feel the vibe is like when you travel, when you go to other countries, when you go to other places? Like, what do you feel? What's your take on the world as a vibe?
I mean, I think it's kind of gotten back to where it was pre-COVID, you know. There are a lot more people taking selfies and posting them on Instagram on the streets of everywhere you go. But no, I think it's gotten back to normal as far as I'm concerned, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to we're talking about the scope of production, we're talking about how stuff can be facilitated. The experience of coming into the world of commercial filmmaking when you came in versus today has got to be different. It's got to be a different experience, right?
Well, I think it's a totally different business. I mean, I'll just leave it there. When we started, you're shooting film for one, the gear, there was a higher cost of entry, so to speak. More time spent, more pre-pro, because we could do so much now, so much faster. Not everybody was supposed to know how to do everything. Yeah, so I mean, I think it's I had a guy here who one of my apprentices who just left last year, super talented kid, went to school, studied hard, and we still talk a lot. And I watch his skill set and what he needs to do just to be accepted compared to how little we really knew back then. Like these kids now, they know sound, they know editing, they know, like they're coming out, they're doing everything. And we didn't have to do that.
Yeah. And then on the personal front, when you think about evolving, always doing and learning something, because that's really at the heart of adventure. I think people who travel, yeah, they want to see the world because the cultures are different in this place and that place, and they're just innately curious, which clearly you are. In terms of yourself evolving, have you felt like your brand, because we should talk about the brand aspect of even when you're in a brand business, you're a brand. SC Pictures is a brand of its own, you know.
Right.
Do you feel your brand has evolved?
Absolutely. I think the brand, I think, well, one, I know so much more now than I did any at any other point in my career. And I think the brand's evolved just because we've changed with the times and we've stayed ahead of the times. And I've been really open to trying new things, going down different avenues, some that were successful, some that are not. And I think that's the key to being at least a small business owner and a creative at that, is that the only thing you know is nothing's going to stay the same. And although there have been some times that you wish it had, or I kind of wish I knew what I know now back then, because I would have been dangerous, you know? So I think it continually evolves. I think we're at a really interesting in time right now. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
so much is changing. There's so much in flux. And what's going to stand out? I think that's the big question. And I do, I mean, as much as I came up loving print media, I think at one point you got to surrender the fact, that, I mean, I used to like get stacks of magazines every month and, look at them and love just leafing through them. And the print media is kind of dying.
Yeah. Well, speaking of print and books, even, you've done a couple of book projects as, I guess, extracurricular kind of things that just round out your creative
Yeah.
self. One was called Identity. Tell us a little bit about Identity.
Identity was a great, great project. One of my friends told me at one point that doing commercial work, you're never going to get to hang out with, and he threw out all these names, like you'll never get to spend the day with Mick Jagger or something. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, you're right. And so I came up with this concept. I want to do a book. I want it to be about portraits, about people, and I want to choose the people, and then I'm going to get them to write in their own hand what makes them unique as individuals. And not to date myself, but this goes back. I think we started this. Someone just pointed this out. It was like 25 years ago, which is crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
And I hired a separate producer just to manage that project. And we would send letters. This was before everyone used like email or, the texting. And I mean, it was still on the phones before. It was
Yeah.
before iPhone. So, I mean, we have letters to like, it didn't matter who. Like I would find somebody's like, oh, they sound interesting. Yeah, I'd be leafing through a magazine. Oh, that sounds interesting. Let's just reach out to them. And like one night, I remember I was coming home on a plane from somewhere, and the back page of Forbes magazine, of all magazines, had a little thing, and it talked about Sonny Barger, who had started the Hells Angels, had just
Right.
been released from prison, and he was living down the road from the prison in Arizona. So I come into the studio the next day and I give that little scrap of paper that I ripped out of the magazine to my producer, and she calls Sonny Barger. And the next thing you know, we're on a plane going to Arizona to photograph Sonny Barger. So it
Oh
was,
my God.
but it was just stories like that. And there's another good one. I was in Chicago and we were going to the lake, and there was one of those newspaper boxes, and I saw like the headlines, and it was talking about Antonio Carlos Jobim, this musician had just died and he lived in Brazil. And they were talking about his funeral and the procession. And there was a woman standing by as the horse-drawn carriage went by and holding a red rose. And it was the woman that they wrote the song, The Girl from Ipanema, about. And
Uh-huh.
it's a famous old song, and they've played it like, since you were a kid, and you heard your parents play it and all this stuff. Anyway, and I'm like, oh my God, there's really a girl from Ipanema? And I looked it up, and sure enough, and she was still alive, and she was living in Sao Paulo at the time. The next week, I was on a job with a different producer in it was a crazy place. And I started telling him about the idea about this book. And I threw that out and I said, hey, so if you line up the girl from Ipanema, I'll take you to Brazil. So I come back to Texas. He goes back to New York. And a week later, I get a phone call saying, hey, we're going to Brazil. So it was just one of those projects that it became a lifestyle. And I was really sad when it was finished, but we had to call it finished at a point. So I think we shot 150 portraits, and I think there are 50 in the book. Some of them, the writing didn't match the picture. The picture was great. The
Yeah.
writing was kind of lame. Some of the writing was great and the picture was lame. So we picked the best. I had a really good designer work on it. And yeah, it was a fun project.
That's
Sorry, I
great.
kind of rambled on about that, but yeah.
No, there's another one. The next one was Seeing Red.
It was. I had a redhead assistant, super nice guy, comes in one morning. I still remember, stands right in front of my desk, and he's like, we're going to be extinct. And I'm like, who? And he's like, redheads. So first thing I thought is, well, we got to do something about that. So I came up with this idea before I took the 30 seconds it takes to type it into Google and learn that they're not going to be extinct. But we created what kind of a frame that we invited redheads to be photographed. This was in the studio, and we had a blast doing that one too. And the designer who did that has a redhead daughter. So he was really into it, and they found everything weird about redheads. And somewhere along the way, I got invited to be the photographer at Redhead Day in the UK. So again, it's just, you know, it has nothing, it's just, it's created a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, people like to go fishing. Oh, I'm going to go to London and photograph redheads. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just like that. That's how it kind of works with me.
And that's what it seems like it's always been.
Yeah.
And again, that figures into your brand. And it brings us back to actually where we started, which was you actually answered something for me, because the way I kind of came into this interview was, how is it that you have dexterity in all these different styles, and you can make these things that seem like that's your expertise, you know? And humor also is hard, like humor's hard to nail. There are directors, as we know, but not everybody listening knows, that there are commercial directors that do nothing but humor. There are commercial directors that do music, that do underwater. And your ability to do these things, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your skirt.
Sure.
I mean it sincerely.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. The people who can take on a genre and really kill it. And I think that what you answered was, you've just responded to things that are out there, and your curiosity is such that you want to do it. And if you're going to do it, you want to do it. You don't want to leave like anything on the floor. You don't want to leave anything on the table. You want to just do it. And if it's going to London and shoot redheads, you're going to do that. Whatever it might be, you're going to do it. And I think that kind of level of being in and being committed, combined with all the other skills you acquire and the experience and all that stuff, I think it's that inness, that kind of, I'm in. If I'm in, I'm in.
Right. And to your point, though, I think it's been a little bit of a roadblock as well, because as you were saying, sometimes they want somebody that just shoots ice cream on white. And there are people whose whole career has been shooting ice cream on white, or people that just shoot like slapstick comedy. And sometimes it's better to be, in the commercial world, at least, I think, it's better to be pigeonholed, because they know, if they want slapstick comedy, they're going to call this guy. So I'm a little bit more of a wild card, and I've taken on more. And I think, but looking back, I'm very happy that I wasn't pigeonholed into just that one thing, because I think I'd get bored. I'm probably a little bit ADD.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Stewart, for setting aside this time and being part of this season. I'm asking some of my guests to just share. Not everybody gets the same question, but in this case, it's kind of, if you're talking to someone who's kind of trying to figure out what to do with their lives, not necessarily they're an artist or they're a photographer or whatever, they're just trying to figure out which road to take. Is there a thought that you can leave them with?
Absolutely. I think you need to put one foot in front of the other and just start doing, like, whatever it may be. I mean, you could go work on a salmon boat in Alaska. It's good. One door leads to another. I'm truly a big believer in that. And a lot of people, and I think today it would be hard too. It's just like, people have a hard time figuring out what they want to do all for the rest of their lives. And a lot of people today, what I found is a lot of younger people ask me, well, so what else have you done? Like with your life, And I'm like, dude, this is all I've ever done. And they're like, what do you mean it's all you've ever done? I'm like, it's all I've ever done because it's kind of fun. But a lot of people kind of bounce around a bit. So I just think if you start doing, and I think there are a lot of, and open yourself up to anything. I think that's a big thing. Get out. Don't sit at home and just do video games.
All right.
If you liked the show,
Yes, and?
it worked for you,
Yes, then?
subscribe and leave a
Yes, friend.
5-star review.
Yes, friend.
Tell all your friends.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Did I make it clear?
Yes, friend.
Get your branding on
Yes.
before they're gone.
Yeah. Huh?